Hello and welcome to your Mega Monthly Zodiac Report. This is our monthly report. It's a coming together of astrologers, and I'm so happy to be here today with Robbie Hunt.
Hi there, Christopher. Happy to see you again, too, especially after what's kind of a bumpy little Pisces season.
Whoa, yeah, and we're taping this early, y'all, so we're in it. Like it's
Mhm.
turbulence. Yeah, very turbulent. I mean, I guess let's talk about it, how Pisces been for you. For me, I'll just put out there, and then I'm going to hear from you, and I'll dive deeper.
Mhm.
It's eighth house for me on my natal chart, so it's in the cutting of the cords, period, and it's a Taurus, resulting in public shift of a perspective. Where are you learning, and what have you experienced?
Mine is second house stuff.
Hmm.
And so it has been about making sure that my sense of value is aligned with spirit. And so over the past 2 weeks, I've made a lot of financial decisions guided by spirit. Literally praying about it and getting financial guidance from spirit. That's what it's been.
That's brilliant, and actually, I'm so happy you shared that because I have to say, I have taken the controls have gone completely to spirit. I don't know. There's just I've
Mhm.
never been on the game field that like this before, and it's unprecedented in history with AI, which really took a gas back for me. Like, oh wait a second, you know,
Mhm.
realizing we have remote consciousness that works on businesses now, so it's interesting too. But eighth house for me, leading the same second. Like I'm not the value I believe my heart believes I deserve. That Earth in the second house, and so it's like because I have had sloppy boundaries with Pisces in my eighth is the determination based on pretty much swimming around pain. I think we just do weird dances inside of ourselves because we're trying to dance around not wanting to feel something, not wanting to do something, and even something you thought was completely gone. I pulled that weed up as of this morning. That's how much there's weeding going on, but it feels good.
Pisces in the eighth house with boundaries is also the invitation for God universe to give you clues about that boundary. And so the boundary over here is going to be different than the boundary that's over here. This person, different than this person, this group, different than that. And so that way we don't have this one size fits all approach.
It's not one size fits all. That's the complications of and also benefit of astrology. It's like it's based on your history, of course. Like what you've done in the past, and the spirit has a lesson for you, and that's what I try to get to. Like, what's the lesson, right? What did I
Mhm.
not know in this lifetime I should have, or what I missed home plate, whatever. But mostly for me, it comes down to my relationship to myself. It's like where is the strength button, at the time of drawing boundary I don't like, like where is that?
Mhm.
I'm not feeling strong
Mhm.
enough. I'm not be able to pull off of that moment. Is that I'm trying to bring down the play-by-play moments where I've slipped up. But that's high resolution. I mean, 30 years ago, I was starting a family. Was I was in this place for the first time. My son was born. My wife and I were just been married. So it's like interesting how life changes like that. It's fascinating, especially eighth house.
Well, life is sickler, and we notice the patterns again. And Pisces is the opportunity to break some of those patterns. Pisces and Scorpio, opportunity to break some of those, but doing it with some guidance from God universe is real important. And I'm finding more and more I'm not leaning upon the opinion of others or the attitudes of others. I'm disconnecting from so much of that, kind of like what we call Pisces. Goodbye. And oh, hello, God. Oh, hello, this bigger picture and way to see things, and how it has just worked out in such much better ways. And
Hmm.
in many ways, because I feel so confident about it, when I make my decisions and then turn around and give that to other people, that sense of confidence also does not invite questions. People are
Hmm.
like, "Oh, you want me to do this? Okay, thank you."
Hmm.
Yeah, and so it's a new sense of confidence for me in what I bring to the table,
Hmm.
value, and then how that is reflected in my resources, all second house stuff. So, isn't it interesting, though, that you and I are dealing with two opposites, the second and
Hmm.
the eighth house, as it deals with?
Interesting. Miss Contrary, are you kidding? It's not interesting. It's us.
That's the
Yeah.
history of our
There's there
relationship,
was
isn't
always
it?
true. Well, I have good friends that do illuminate the opposite side. I'm tons of Scorpios in that sense. I hear you on the divine. I mean, ultimately, as a nine guy, like so many nines in my chart, my ego is really strong. Trying to be strong, not trying to be all that. Trying to be strong, but because it's trying to be strong, it just doubles down on stuff, and it's like I'm having to my was to relaxing that part of myself to not stiffen up so that the medicine can get in because spirit all the time tells me like, and by the way, that's for you too. Like when I'm reading a client or something, it's like, oh really? I wasn't calling.
Mhm.
So, but I do agree too. Last point is that we have not seen what we're about to go through. We have no past life history or memory of. We've
Mm.
never done this ever on Earth. And this is coming back into an awakening connection to our supernatural powers, which we have. We have lots of supernatural powers, all these types of things, all happening at once, And so you have to follow spirit. There's no other guidance.
The thing that happened in Pisces with the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 Aries,
Mm-hmm.
something that the last time it happened, 4,300 and some change BC,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know of structures or anything that we have other than maybe old pieces of pottery from that period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's literally not in our physical consciousness. Any of that stuff that was existing is long gone. It's part of the dust of what we're building stuff with. And so, yeah, you're absolutely truer words never spoken. We haven't been here before.
Mm-hmm.
And if we haven't been here, the one thing is to align with God universe that has been. And that is how we're going to navigate through the rest of 2026.
100%. And I feel ultimately the zero placement of that time in that cycle 4,500 years ago, that's when we got our most barbaric. We went down
Mm.
further. I think we went down further with wars and bloodshed and tribal takeovers and territory hostage stuff and going to the age of Pisces where all of a sudden Catholicism comes out. So it was brutal. So this time clearly, just look at even war, space weaponry. There's not gonna be troops across the ocean. It's gonna be space weaponry. They're gonna knock out your ATMs. Like it's a completely different world on that level too, as far as aggression and Aries and that sort of thing. And with individual Aries, what am I finding? Humility. I'm hearing Aries talk about God. What? You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, So I'm teasing, but like the only time I heard "Go God" was when they were judging me. Oh God, like that's the only time they talk about it. But still fascinating to see. And also I think about last point. Aquarius rules their 11th. The Aries have to build the age of Aquarius. They build it. They do it.
We're
It's their
working
thing.
on it. We're working on it.
The Aries, yeah. So it's been interesting. So hello, goodbye. I'll just say for me, it was not goodbye, hello. It was hello, goodbye. So it came in reverse order. Funny enough, although I felt like that was the best title for the show because we don't leave people feeling bad, feeling on a low note. But for me, it happened manifest. Did you have a goodbye and an oh hello?
Yes, there was the releasing and then there was the hello. There was the creating the void.
Mm-hmm.
You got to create the void for something to come in. So, yeah, I was creating the void.
Yeah, making the space. Yeah, I'm still making space right now. But we're still in the 8th house. You can hear that backing up the beep beep. The construction crews.
Mm-hmm.
So now we move into Aries, and to me, this is going to be where things get so exciting. And strangely enough, I live by astrology, and I have been planning for things to be ready at this time. Now, none of it is, but at the end of the day, there was a plan, knowing that this is the moment. I feel that we find suddenly the Earth clicking a gear, and you see for the first time what this is about. And we're going to see it because it's Aries. It's going to materialize. And I'm fascinated by what's happened prior to this. We've already been part of invading Iran. We already have a Gulf War basically going on, non-sanctioned, not approved or whatever, but it's like just happened. And you're telling me in Aries it gets more intense. What do you think, Robbie?
Well, I'll go contrary with you and say I think that we've had that war for years. I don't know that we ever got out of it.
True. Maybe it's above ground.
Yeah, and now it's just a little bit more in our face. But I think whenever we go through these big world shifts of geopolitical things, it always involves that part of the world. It just seems to always involve that part of the world that we call Middle East because from the perspective in Europe, that's the point between there and the East.
Mm.
But let's call it what it is. It is the place of where Judaism and Christianity was born.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot that's going on in those religions right now. It's also the place of Islam. So the collection point of three of the religions that are the majority of what people on this earth define as theirs and that being the place where this bubbling is coming up, you can't write that script. That makes perfect sense when you
Oh,
think all about it.
yeah, I can't help but wonder. I mean, back in their time, I mean, what was Aries for them? It was slavery, it was hunting and gathering. It was still trying to, wanting food, the basic principles of life and shelter, like basic Aries stuff of survival and those being in those stories. I
Well,
can't
and of
remember.
power, domination, force.
Total, yeah. The Titan,
Hmm.
Genghis Khan, who everyone has DNA of him now. You know what I mean? Like, so interesting moment there. So now here we are again, and the question is, we're also hearing an echo of Civil War. The American Civil War is also echoing with Neptune and Aries. And I feel like the difference is inside of ourselves, we're motivated by something different inside of ourselves. To me, that's the key of the innovation. The inside, what drives me, represented by Saturn and Neptune in the first decan of Aries, chipping away at the foundation of what Aries is. That foundation is my idea of survival. The foundation is my idea of thrival. Whether or not I have to have a fight or don't have to fight, like the means in which I go about it in 3D space. We all know, to get the dishes done, you got to first convince this guy on the inside, like, get up, come on, let's do it. That's the part of us I think that we're updating first. But see, that's the part that's held us back. So to me, once you pull out whatever's holding it back, boing, you're going to have this bounce forward of inner strength. Everyone feeling strong. Everyone not going to tolerate any bullshit. And then from there, it's like, okay, get the popcorn. What's going to happen?
Well, I'll add to it in that, I think the last many Aries transits that we've dealt with, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we have been in such survival mode. There's been such surrender. We have had to surrender to some kind of dominating force. And I
Mm-hmm.
still think that we're surrendering, but I'll use a different term. We're yielding. That ego is yielding. So
That's true.
surrender is a little bit different, I think, than yielding. Some people may say it's semantics, but I think surrender puts you down on your knees and you have no choice. Yielding says, okay, here. It's almost an invitation. And so I think that that's part of what we're also doing is that we're yielding to that our own journey. And that I do not have to surrender to these forces. I don't have to surrender to the political party. I don't have to surrender to the war. I don't have to surrender to that. I'm yielding to my own more aligned we go. What we've been talking about for years
Mm-hmm.
about the we go. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's what we're doing in that first part of of Aries. I mean, everything that you said, and
That was good though. And to me, we go says it. I think it's always been I go. Ego is like just me. And then I think we come up with me go, which is like, let me think about me a bit deeper. Let's be focused on me. And then we go is like, oh, I should also focus on someone else.
mhm,
This idea is so simple but so basic too. I think an ego upgrade.
mhm,
What the ego
yeah,
can be. The ego now needs to be strong to facilitate the magic. The ego now has to be strong, charismatic, has to be be able to perform because to some degree this is a this is a bit of a enchantment when you connect with the universe and actually do magic. There's an enchantment there that you have to be kind of a performer, really,
mhm,
being able to craft your energies at a whim. And I think that's the fun stuff that'll be happening for them as Pluto goes through Aquarius and like just gives them more and more rights, more powers, more ability. Yeah, it's interesting to watch. Aries race will be fun to watch.
mhm.
So that said, we are diving into Aries, and I guess we should dive into it.
Just
And the
do it.
first, we wrap up with the first week, though. We have a blended week. We always do this here. We have the end of the last transit, and beginning of the new one, which is a powerful moment. You can feel the energy shift when you go from 29 to 0. You feel it. You feel the floor drop. You feel everything quiet down. And we think that in this first week, it's really defining what we were talking about just now, which is that this is about the hero of your own journey. This is where Luke Skywalker is on his side. This is something we haven't seen in hero movies. Of course, we do. We're siding with the hero always in these stories, as Joseph Campbell has pointed out so brilliantly. However, I think that the way we side with that hero has now changed. It's not that I'm the victim and I will rise up. It is that I need to think of myself in such magical ways that I become my own guardian angel, that I become my own watch over kind of soul. And I watch over the actions of myself with this in mind, which is the whole Neptune, I think, placement of it. So this is the week, I think, where we start to do that. And we're looking for our North Star. So there's what's north inside of us is the question. What is the thing we go for? And I used to think it was love, by the way, but I now know that love is connecting force. But I don't know if that's what I'm wanting in the end, where I stand on my feet and feel I'm grounded. It's like, yay, to be in that kind of love vibration. I want to feel love for sure, be very strong. So I think we're all going to find what is that North Star inside of us, and as a result, kind of update our intuitive mindset, because now we have to be sensing for different things. We weren't sensing for danger. We've been sensing since we're a child. We're sensing for danger. We're sensing for kidnappers. Or, we've been told in movies what to sense for. Now I think we have a new sense that we dive into, particularly in this transition between the two. What are your thoughts, Robbie, about that?
Absolutely. It is a transition between the two. You're right. The difference between 29 and 0 is like the difference between being in Florida and being in Canada during the wintertime. It's that different. And that goes to show the power of the step system as well with that. But this finding a new North Star, you and I were talking backstage about there's not only from a metaphorical, but from a real physical, in that the North Pole, the poles, they've been shifting for about 15 years now, and to the point that airlines are having to renumber runways because those are based on compass settings. So yeah, our alignment with even all of that is changing in a physical world as well. So that ought to also tell us something as well about this transition that's happening.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Mother Earth following, and that's been one of the main top 10 calamities we look at every year. Like, will the shift and everything change, and ATMs not work? Who knows? I don't know if it'll have a big snap. They say it can go gradual too, but I don't find it surprising, because inside myself, what is my North Star? What am I pointing towards here? And I don't know. I'd throw it out there. I think it happens really on Wednesday of that week. I mean, first thing, Mars in Pisces will conjunct Mercury retrograde. So Mars and Mercury come together, which is the ego and the mind, and they come together very early in the morning before you wake up, or they might be while you make up. Basically, your ego and your mind go, okay, this is what we're doing. And when they say this is what we're doing, we're saying for our insides, to make sure that we stay resolute and strong and valuable, and that we don't get compromised from ourselves or from anyone else on the inside. So to me, that's a real striking. And this is when the North Node starts to change, or the pole shift happens, because Mercury retrograde will conjoin the North Node in Pisces at step 8. So this happens Wednesday, right after that, what I just remarked. So right after that, we go, okay, that's it. I'm committing to it. I'm signing this whole contract. This is how I need to be to myself. It involves, I hope, compassion and that type of thing. Of course, that's what we teach. And energetically, that's really the signing, I think, of your own declaration of independence, really. And I was thinking about that, Robbie, too, about, the American Revolution. It's like we were striking for independence last time from Great Britain. Now it's from our old ways inside ourselves. That's the revolution, that we're not going to allow ourselves to fall back into colonial times in our inner self. And from that, it's mission impossible, because the only thing that has ever been against us has been ourselves, really. And we realize that we have the solution and we also have the problem. I think it's about more empowering, part of that higher vibe. What do you see the conjunction for you? Yeah, I was asking.
Yeah, let me jump in there with that. So this retrograde, this was Mercury starting its retrograde at 22 Pisces. 22 breakdown to breakthrough, and going all the way back to 8 degrees. So this conjunction you're talking about here is with Mars and Mercury is at 10, but then Mercury conjuncts the North Node at 8. And what has happened is that during much of Pisces, we had Black Moon Lilith also at 8, creating a T-square. Well, what is 8? I decide how to move more into Pisces, North Node, less into the reality that I'm watching, and I am not going to make decisions based on fear. I am not going to make these decisions based upon what the world, Virgo, tells me that I should fear. And even old beliefs, because that's Black Moon Lilith and Sag. And I just find it very interesting that Mercury starts that retrograde at 22. We're about to break down something. Something is about to come into our cosmic 2x4 of what we think about something. And then all of the planets, Sun, Mars, Venus, and now Mercury are conjuncting that North Node at 8. And so that must mean something. God universe must be trying to get to us in very personal ways, because it's all the personal planets conjuncting that North Node at 8. You're about to make a whole bunch of new decisions. Before that node gets to 7, where we're really moving into our intuitive sense.
Mm.
Start making that commitment now that that's how you're going to make your decisions. And don't fear the new ones. As long as you are aligned with God universe, don't fear those new ones.
New what particularly?
Decisions.
Oh,
Step
this is,
eight.
oh, yes, 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 absolutely, Jeffrey. Yeah, I completely concur. And I'll add on. I feel like we have, our inner states of awareness are signs. These are states of awareness, and when they all go by and they put a vote in a box, that's a new definition of how you're going to unite your inner states of awareness. You're trying to unite your inner states and make them all work on the same team and the same topic. This happens, of course, we get all off a course because we get hurt and we sort of react to different things. So, Robbie, I see that as a declaration. The states are voting. And it has to do with how they treat the interior of the states, not the exterior. And sure, there's existential threat. I think with Mercury 22, inevitably what happens is, that to me is maybe the hello, like, oh, hello, future. I never saw you there before. To me, a new future all of a sudden has appeared, real bright and clean and aligned with all my friends who are making similar changes too. So I see that Mercury 22 as we don't quite know what's going to happen. And well, if you're willing to be strong here for yourself, well, then perhaps it can happen. Yeah, right.
I'll add to it later in the next week that we're going to go over. Vesta also conjuncts that North Node. And what does Vesta want? A devotion. She wants a commitment. She wants us to take something dear to our heart. And so I don't know. Yeah. And you've made the point before about step 8, the making an incision, that a decision makes an incision. And it does. It puts it starts to put the flag in the ground. It digs the hole so that at step 9 we can put that flag in the ground and say, here is where I stand. And so, yeah, all that stuff conjuncting that North Node.
Right.
Yeah.
It's being taken out of handcuffs and put in handcuffs at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what 8 does. 8 goes, I decided it's this. Well, then that means all you are wrong. But there's always a wrong side, the bottom of the 8. The top of the 8 is what you keep. The bottom of the 8 is what you cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always cutting off that stuff because you can't afford it. You can't bring everyone along with you. Road to heaven is single file. There's a real efficiency to that Capricorn energy. And we're going to be cutting our own self. Like, oh, that's cutting out. That's cutting out. There'll be a lot of things cut out, I'm sure, for most people, especially in our modern food business and how we are taking in so much poisons and toxins, all this stuff. So it's a hell of a first week, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a couple of things we haven't even gone over, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as we move through the week, right, we have that North Node conjunction on Wednesday. So hump day, it's always on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, March 18th, Venus in Aries will square Jupiter in Cancer at step 15. This is, I think, a calibrating the scales moment where we say that Thursday, you know what peace is? Peace is this. And we finally define what peace is. This is what peace is. And people will define it in their own terms, their philosophies, their religion, everything. And then the sun in Pisces then sextiles Uranus and Taurus. And that basically says our heart later that day says, and this is what we're going to manifest. So we're going to materialize this. It could be a direction. It may not be a literal, literal object or idea, but for me, it's coming in literally. I'll just share that. And then, of course, boom, New Moon in Pisces, right? Happens next. It's step 28. And energetically holding space for this final frontier of spiritual mission. Is there anything else to say about that? Do you want to add?
Just noting that Uranus moving to 28 Taurus, the Grand Master Taurus degree,
Mm-hmm.
we are putting things together. You may not feel like things are really moving, but they are, and they've got density and weight to them because Uranus is now at 28 Taurus.
Mm. Yeah, because we can see, Uranus and Taurus says, hey, whatever you think is a big deal, you don't understand what the word big or deal means. And we're like, what? We're kind of like, what do you mean? It's like, oh yeah, child, you've gotten these parts wrong, not these. And there's a real learning. And that's what I've gone through with AA. That's funny. AI is that, oh my God, when it comes to manufacturing, I'm a Taurus. I got 26-degree Venus. It's like, oh my God, you mean they changed the factory at the last minute? Just the idea that suddenly you get this new tool that's out of nowhere is totally Uranus and Taurus. Like, here's a tool that'll change everything. It's like, wow. Like if we had a particle creator that could create food, like you see in Star Trek, that would change everything. We're in that realm now where we're going to find things that would just blow our mind as far as what's manifested. And I think this Aries part is like, you give yourself permission. Mm-hmm. Yourself permission to do it. Like, I can do this. Let's do it. I was born for this, right? So it's intense. Do you want to show the new moon? No, I can show this chart. We're going to show next.
Well, actually, that we did that in the last Pisces. Right. And so, yeah, we don't need to go over that one.
No way. And then, speak to, if you can, the void of courses this month, because in this first week, when the sun goes into Aries, it seems like it's the driest, slowest day in the world, is it not?
Yeah, so let's talk about how we enter into this Aries season. I am one who really pays attention to void of course moons. Now, the void of course moon is nothing that's unusual. And lots of times it's an hour, 2 hours, maybe 7 or 8. But when it goes across a day in a very extensive way or multi days, now I pay attention. And we enter Aries during a void of course moon. So we're a few hours into Aries. The moon has already gone void of course. It did, and it's a 21-hour, 12-minute void of course moon. Whenever a planet enters into a new sign under a void of course, it's kind of taken some of the energies of that and backing it off. But hold on. This isn't just any Aries. We're going to have an Aries stellium in there because we're going to have Mars enter Aries. We're going to have Mercury. Does Mercury enter Aries during this time? I think it does, doesn't it? Let's look at the notes. Yeah, it does. And so that is kind of Aries going, yeah. I know, I hear that we're coming in under this void of course, but you don't know what kind of stuff I got in the trunk of the car. You don't know what I got. And so there's like this, and I don't quite know how to describe it, but there's like this density that we know that there's movement, we know that there's action, but you got to believe that it's underground, that it's like the duck. You see a duck just going along the pond and looks so graceful and beautiful, but what you don't see is this underneath. And it seems like that's how we start Aries. And here's the other thing, and Christopher, I didn't think about it when you and I were talking about this backstage. This isn't just Aries. This is the beginning of the new astrological year. And so it just seems to be that that's what we're going to be doing. There's a lot of energy going on and building, but it is not right here being seen. It's below the surface. And that's a whole lot of what I think everything in Pisces was preparing us for, that look, I've been doing that work in connection with Pisces. Everything I've been doing in my own stuff. Okay, God, is this the time to do it? And if God universe says to me, not right now, well, I'm sitting here working and getting it ready. I have been getting stuff ready so that when God universe goes, now, I've got it. I don't have to stay up 3 nights in a row to get it done. And I think that's how we're going to be using a lot of this energy, not only in Aries, but as we go through the entire Aries to Pisces of this year kind of transit. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot. What do you think?
I think you're spot on. I agree with everything. And I think to myself, Aries makes such good engineers or good mechanics. They understand the mechanics of things so well. And it's like, so we give them new tools, AI, and give them permission to change the mechanics because they're the boss of them now, which was not the way it was in the past. They were always slaves to someone who was making everyone else slaves to them, like a very aggressive kind of campaigns. Now the soldier's a freelancer, so to speak. So I think it's a fascinating moment for them being the species that we watch, and how they do it. It's a fun, interesting moment. And as we go in that void of course, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. It kind of feels like, yes, it does feel like they're sneaking the Trojan horse in. That void of course, like, like that's full of soldiers or whatever for that attack. There's certainly, I do feel danger. And I feel a spiritual.
I do too.
I feel a spiritual threat. I feel a spiritual threat. In fact, I'll say it right now. I think that it goes from this moment to the very end of Aries, and things just escalate. And I don't feel don't expect things to calm down right away. So I think we have to, as people, just hold a cool tone and observe and not say anything. I mean, that's the most powerful place to be. Just watch and don't say anything. That makes people in charge look back at you.
Yes. And look, if you're sitting there at your desk doing your own stuff, you don't think the evildoers are sitting at their desk doing the same thing. They're using the Aries transit the same way.
True.
But what you and I are preparing for and what they're preparing for are two different things.
Agreed. Well, for one, I think we've got an advantage by just knowing our outcome and believing in it. Like, I don't know if that's the case when people try to take power. They're not always 100% certain. They have that confidence that we have in our hearts when we work with spirit. So I think there's a lot of advantages. I also think when you're not plugged into spirit, you're not very creative. And so your ideas are good, but not that brilliant. I think we have a brilliant crop of light workers and people about to invent some stuff you just never imagined, because we're including now this divine intelligence, Pisces, with our caveman, cavewoman, Aries energy. And that's what's really happening.
Well, and when you're not connected with spirit, your timing is not very good, and you
Correct.
do not anticipate consequences.
Yes, and you may not get the warning. You'll think it's your breakfast you had. No, it was your intuition. So, so that void, of course, I've noticed. I have one that just happened recently before this tape date. I was very aware of it, and I was just like, okay, this feels like I'm stuck on a long airplane flight. I can't get off the airplane. I'm on this airplane up in the air. That means I have so much comfort. Where the bathroom's always over here. I always cross over 5 people. It's just being stuck on a long flight. That's what it felt like. And in that moment, I started considering things in my life that I never would play with or look at. So I found myself giving myself access to things like, no, we don't touch that. Well, why don't we? Said my inner self. Oh, that's interesting. And noticing that, we put lockdown. So I find that the Void of Course offers to show like where hidden something is.
Void of Course is a perfect opportunity because you're not saddled with the moon being in an exact alignment with any planet. So you're a great analogy. You're free to roam the cabin a little bit.
But where am I headed? I don't know. Yeah, totally true. It feels like that. Well, I think we take advantage of those. I feel like as they come up, and I thank you, Robbie, for bringing this to our attention, making this a big deal, because it is. It's like that's a moment where you have unusual powers. It's almost like in old video games where you can click and everyone freezes, and you can be in this world for a moment where you are above the world. To me, those void courses feel that way. Like suddenly I have this magical realm I'm in. Everything else is stopped, and I can look at my life, see where things are walking. It's a fascinating moment.
I will be stealing that as an analogy. Thank you very much.
Please, it's a trade. Sure. Yes. I'll give you credit for it too, always. And the Mercury Station's direct. Mercury Station's direct is step 8. I mean, that's like the final. Yeah.
Right after we go into Aries. So we go into Aries at 10:45 Eastern, and at 3:32 we go Mercury direct. So not only are we now fully in Aries, but we are all planets direct. Everything's direct now. Of course, the nodes, they go in retrograde, but we're all direct now. And then a couple of days after that, boom, we have Sun conjunct Neptune. And so I'm going to talk just a wee bit about that one. And I looked it up because how often has the Sun conjuncted Neptune in Aries? Every 165 years. So I wanted to see when had been the last conjunctions at 1 degree, because it's 1 degree. And this is the beauty of the step system. It tells us there is something about some kind of bigger love that is trying to happen here. And what is it? So I went back. You know me. I love my history with the astrology. So the last time these happened, 1862, 1371, and 1207. So I go talking to the AI, tell me about these dates, tell me what the commonalities were. And look, I could talk to you about this for 10 hours, but let me just have 1 minute. And that is that on these conjunctions, on these dates, there was significant geopolitical stuff that was primarily dealing with government and with church. 1207, 1371, we're talking more about the church in Europe. We're talking about where the Great Schism started. This is part of what created what we now know as the Eastern and the Western Catholic Church. But there was a lot of division in the United States churches over the Civil War. And so during 1862, in this particular time period, there were things being decided by various churches about, are we going to support this or not? And when you go back and look at especially the history of the South, if there were churches down here that said, yeah, we don't think this slavery thing is a good idea, and especially going to war about it, they were breaking off from the churches. I will make a prediction that I think during 2026, we're going to start to see major divisions, more than we've already seen, in all forms of religion, that being Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Christianity, because Pope Leo, who considers himself more liberal, the traditional faction doesn't like it, and they're threatening to have their own bishops and this type of thing. Judaism, there's a lot of focus on that now with Israel's involvement in this whole thing with Iran. And look, we're not saying whether something is right or wrong. You form your own opinion. But then we're talking about Iran, a hotbed of where Islam is. And so you got all three things going on. And I think we're just going to see major changes on that based upon this sun conjunct Neptune. How's that for bringing in some world history there, Christopher?
No, brilliant, and so well said. And really, religion the whole time not being what Yeshua said, or maybe Abraham. I don't know. I haven't studied that in lifetimes, but I believe that somewhere that was hijacked and used as a manipulative force against us as peoples. And I agree. I think Catholic goes down first. I think because just the way God does it, we already got a lot of hot going on between Jewish and Muslim. A lot of heat there. So what's left? The Catholics. And I think, unfortunately, the Epstein information is going to somehow lead in that direction. That's my prediction.
Oh, well, it has to. And
it's a thing forever.
Well, and it's part of the illusion and delusion that happened with Neptune and Pisces.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Neptune clearing, setting the record straight. I think because Neptune is the source of creation energy, you can create any BS you want and it'll make it look real. It'll make it look real. But also, if you know the signature of what real feels like, you can find truth, in that moment too. It's an interesting, Pisces paradoxical moment. Now also Pisces themselves are graduating from this transit. I mean, we didn't talk about that, but they, having had this all leave, they're now ready to go do their work too and be the light walkers and the light givers of the planet, which they always wanted to do, but they were just plagued with that past life stuff.
Yeah, big stuff. All right, so that's just the beginning of the week.
That's not the story. Yeah, I'm kidding.
That's just the beginning of the week. So to hit other stuff very quickly, Sun's going to conjunct Saturn for Aries after it does Neptune. I've already talked about Mercury conjuncting the North Node. That happens. But after those conjunctions that the Sun has, Neptune then moves to 2 degrees Aries. We are now with Neptune in places that it hasn't been in 165 years. And also at the same time, Pluto is moving into degrees. It hasn't been for 248 years. So here we are in new territory. Venus is going to conjunct Chiron at 25 Aries. 25 Aries. Take that wound higher. If all this stuff starts to take you into old past life wounds, if you're remembering that past life where you were some Roman soldier who took the head off of a new Christian, or you did something to stop a spiritual movement or something like that, I think you could be having some deja vu moments. Don't misinterpret. Venus conjuncting there is to find value in that you're not there anymore, and that you now can put that whole event in a much more loving perspective. And that Venus also, and Vesta also conjuncts that North Node during this week. So there's just a lot in terms of conjunctions dealing with Aries on a week that we come into Aries a little bumpy, with full of energy, but it all being kind of below the surface. And it's just a reminder you're right where you need to be. Don't go back to that past. Don't go back to that old wound. Stay in your value. Stay in who you are. Stay in that connection with God, universe. Don't be distracted by this other stuff. The world will be distracted. And they're going to do everything they can to try to get you into false action. Oh, come over here and watch this. Here, doom scroll on this social media platform. Here, do this. Here, do that. They'll do everything. And that's part of why we're saying that, I see that we're doing chapter 1. Hey, Mr. Producer there, move us to chapter 2, because that's a lot of what we're talking about right now, the hero basic training.
The hero's been redefined. I mean, that's why it's such a powerful thing.
Right. And this is basic training. You got your cape now. You got your cape. You got the instructions on what your magic power is, Okay, you're the flamethrower, or you're the one who's doing this. Whatever your superpower is, you're going through the basic training, but it means accepting the spiritual mission to do it. And that's everything that we've been talking about here through steps 1 through 7. Basically, this hitting the March 20th through the 28th. So, wow. And that's how we start Aries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Break down the hero.
it's,
Yeah.
just thinking about it. But that's the benefit of knowing this is coming. Let's get ourselves ready.
Yes, get in shape and get in tune and get practiced at response to self is self-love. Like if you respond to yourself with self-love, you will not fail. You will not fail. It's impossible. I just don't see it as possible. Let me know. But I bet it's only when we don't love ourselves in that moment that we make any mistake for ourselves. And we choose the most loving for ourselves. I have found that it is at the end of the day, the most loving for the person too, or interpretation. It doesn't look like that at the beginning. They might have to go down another rabbit hole to get there, but they end up also on top. So to me, Joseph Campbell, this is like the first, chapter of Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker, the very beginning one, finds out there's this mission, and he's got the choice of a fork in the road between being the old farm boy on that, planet, or taking off and doing something he dared not do, following his father's footsteps. And there's that question mark. But what ends up happening? His farm gets burned down, his uncle gets killed. So at the end of the day, it's like, well, okay, this time in the hero's journey, do we have to lose a farm and uncle and do we have to make a mistake to where people die? There's a higher way to go. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you next month if I figure it out.
I will be listening.
Okay. But it's interesting. So I think the movie Star Wars will be different now, for instance. And I think Joseph Campbell's work was where we were then. And there's probably be some sort of an update of what that hero is going forward now. It's an interesting cultural shift, right?
Well, one of the cultural shifts is that not only are we looking at it from the hero's journey, but there is the heroine's journey.
Yes. Thank
Because
you.
women have done this journey differently than men have done.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good for us to look at both of those.
I concur. I think that's part of the we go. Who's we? Man and woman, equal side by side. And Venus and Mars getting along, I think it's part of it as well. Well said. I know people working on that kind of reinterpretation of it too, because it's a different story. The heroine's journey is different. It's completely different and fascinating from what I've seen so far.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think that's my wrap up there for the that particular week there, chapter 2. So I'm going to toss it. Why don't you go ahead and bring us into this next week?
All right. So we did this before. We're in the Mercury retrograde as we tape this thing. But chapter 2, though, however, could also be right. Is that include 5 as the last one or not? So it's our 3D relationship policies changed, correct? Exactly. So yeah, this is it. Y'all, because we changed, think about it, Aries and Libra themselves changing. Libra is divine feminine. Aries is divine male. And so these two components have been under a lot of shifting for a long time. And so I think we're starting to see now as we come into Sun and Aries, a change in what we call relationships. And the 3D policy for relationships, I think, gets redefined with the Libra full moon. Basically, if it would be stand by your man, not now. There's going to be a new Bible, I think, of how to relate to people that ends up destroying the old Bible with the full moon in Libra and setting up the opportunity for the other side, the male side, to re-identify that hero and then change the path. So what does that mean if you're not this person, you're not that person? So you see the hero and you see, forgive me, the damsel in distress, which would not be now, not the damsel in distress now. That's changing. Venus is getting an upgrade. So Venus moving into Taurus, I think, makes that very powerful. She goes in on Monday and on March 30th. So I'm looking forward to it, frankly, because things soften up considerably. The approach is more careful energy with Venus and Taurus. We slowly build things instead of rapidly build things. We need that kind of inner cool, I think, to cool off our jets a little bit. Venus and Aries is like definitely wearing fatigues and ready to fight. Venus and Taurus is going to, get ready and enjoy dinner type of thing. And that's Monday. We go into Monday, Venus goes into Taurus. Tuesday is when we have the full moon in Libra at step 12. And this to me is first of all, a full moon is composed of a 1 and a 2 anyways. The 1 is the sun, the 2 is the moon. So here we have a grandmaster lunar event, which means we are reprogramming the core of what our heart, step 1, and our feelings feel, step 2, as those two are coming together at 12, which means they're brought together again. What's the net result? It's that we change our belief about daily life. And it's based on a collapsing view of relationships, or a collapsing view of marriage, collapsing view of support, collapsing view of team, collapsing view. These old, teams are, I think, falling apart. Yeah. So do you want to look in the chart? Is that going to be you, Robbie?
No, that one's yours. You
I'll do
got
it.
that one. I got the new moon.
Let's do it. So, oops, there we go. There we go. So, ultimately, what I find interesting is it's an April Fool's chart. Christianity also is a Christianity thing, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, kind of crazy. You have this stellium here on the sun. The sun is blazing into investing love. The sun is love. We're investing love into this inner part of our character, and this inner part of our character is also what we're committing to spiritually. So you have this spiritual commitment to our inner character, and you have this construction of the inner character on the ego side. This 12 is a full moon in Libra. So basically, Libra is what will I open up to? It's the 6 in 96 or 69. It's the 6. And so the policy of when to open up or not open up is, I think, what actually changes. I'm not going to open to this. I'm not going to open that. I ain't open this anymore. I'm not open to that anymore. People are no longer open to certain pathways, people, ways of going about it. They just aren't open anymore. They don't want to eat anything. They'll pass. They'll eat next time. And of course, at the same time, don't forget, we have, our last lunar eclipse was 12 Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
And the south node is at 8 too. So this is the literal garbage right here. Virgo is like, well, here's all the stuff. This is where we pack ratted. And we kept all these things and these memorabilia, and just Virgo's all the stuff and the things and the details that result from living that life. And it's saying, hey, let's flush it. Time to flush it, and imagine where you don't need this anymore. So it's like downsizing your apartment to just a few items kind of thing, which is great to get lighter. And ultimately, the key, of course, in any moon is the moon itself, the feelings. So what this says is your heart and feelings, what's going to change are your feelings about things. And the feeling that's going to change is what you should be open to in a relationship or not. I used to be open to this. I'm no longer open to it. I can report this is exactly where my change is happening, is in relationships, because I have Pluto in Libra at 1 degree. So like, talk about beginner level of that kind of stuff, what I should or shouldn't open up to, because the past policy was open to everything by default, open, which makes people trust you. But at the end of the day, it makes your life untrustworthy because you're open to too much. So they were redefining that in this full moon. And look at Venus at 2. See, that redefinition of what 2 is, well, that ultimately becomes the emotional foundation of your self-worth. So that becomes why you're worthy, because you won't open to that anymore, and you won't tolerate that anymore. Finally, Chiron went to 25 at the moment too. I have to say, all the past life religious, our fears of ending in another cult, our fears of ending up, being a cult leader, all that kind of stuff that's based on religion being abused, those start to heal. Which to me, Robbie says, hey, that means that the new spiritual leaders don't feel guilty anymore, and they're willing to give another try. So I think you're seeing the preview of Lightworkers on the stage.
I hadn't thought about it in that way. Let me talk a little bit about that Venus at 2. I'll add to what you just said. I've been watching Venus for about 2 years now. She has just been doing these synchronistic things. And I've brought it up before. In 2025, when Uranus took a small travel into Gemini, Venus was there at 2 degrees. When Uranus entered Gemini, Venus was there at 2 degrees. In April of this year, when Uranus enters Gemini, Venus is going to be there again at 2 degrees. And here she is at 2 degrees on a full moon in her sign. And I'm like, 2 degrees? But she's not just 2 degrees. She's in a semi-sextile with Neptune, her octave planet.
Yeah.
And so her octave being that Neptune needs a helper on Earth to get these God messages down to, and uses Venus to do it. And here it is at 2 degrees Taurus on a moon that she rules. And so how we feel about these relationships is going to be everything. But I think to understand that we're also learning. Step 12 is I learn. It's a whole new way of learning that these relationships mean something and how we care about them, because Jupiter is at 15, this Grandmaster Libra degree.
Mm-hmm. Pump it in 6. Yeah, just fill in the middle 6 with coffers with gold.
Yeah. And so I think that this Aries transit is a part of where we're starting to realize that the people that we want, they're over here. My people are here. My people are here. And I'm learning how to get there. I'm learning who they are. I'm learning how to approach them. I'm learning who I am with the possibility of being with them. You know, it's all brand new and very exciting, and it's a full moon, and a full moon always illuminates something.
I think this dynamic here is where you see Gen X step into power.
Mm,
This is Gen X's power stand. This is where they stand up now. Gen X will be a president next. So it's this is the generation that was taking care of their kids and also their parents, and have had to always be the one in the middle. Given this reputation, they couldn't contribute. Truth be
mm,
known, X, X is something's behind that X, and what that is X marks a spot. Gen X knows exactly how to aim and fire and change. I think a lot of the world with precision of like a surgeon, because we've had to do it with every person in our life, and so we kind
mm.
of well skilled at it. And now it's kind of like now that we're starting to settle down our life because we're settling down with our karma. It's like, yeah, and why is the whole earth this way? I think that's the next step. So, like light workers, I think political leaders, I think we're about to see a wave of new leadership that is
Mhm.
governed by self leadership within of self love, and that is going to be unstoppable because this next generation of leaders, they know exactly what's coming over the pipeline. They know exactly how to read the information, and most of all, they use their heart and their intuition to guide them. So, whatever they believe in, yeah.
Maybe then during 2026, a lot of these older politicians that just keep glunking up the system, these people who should have retired 20 years ago,
Mm.
and they've had 30 years in, at least speaking in the United States, in our governments, maybe 2026 is the year they all die and get out of here.
Or the truth comes out, the evidence. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
it's a bunch of all of it. It's really interesting. I do think we see a complete wave of, and that just creates like Wild West opportunity. We have people who are not already in bed with these people. Now, the entire meshwork of the old system starts to collapse, and that only leaves room for those who are smart and have AI,
Hmm.
because AI is going to be the other component that's absolutely mandatory.
Yeah.
Just, it's just we do so much thinking before we show up to any construction project now. The average person has access to AI. They show up able to communicate, and the AI will translate. If you're dumb, it'll translate you back down there. It'll translate. There's no
Hmm.
reason for us not to have high fiber connection of our intelligence now,
Hmm.
literally
Hmm.
amongst
Yeah.
people. It's an exciting time. So this full moon, I think, is a turning point for us, where we say to ourselves, "I just can't be open to that feeling anymore. That feeling, whatever that feeling is." And if you rule by feeling and just get rid of everything that feels that way, you'll be surprised.
Hmm.
The ways of walking out the door, which is
Hmm.
good. I think everyone's ready for a new chapter, like you said. And I'm fine too. A whole bunch of new people coming to my life too, where it's like, well, hey, I would say this, and maybe you can comment. You don't know them walking in the door. You feel it once you get to that connection. You're like, oh, wow. I'll notice that my perception in the beginning and what actually ended up coming about was not the same. I was using old world, perception and judgment. And then when I get to this person, I'm like, wow, never thought of myself in this kind of category.
It's the vibe.
It is the vibe. It's all about the vibe.
Hmm.
So full moon Libra is a turning point, I think. And, you agreed, you mentioned that 28 degrees is the grandmaster of Taurus. So we're reengineering the blueprints here as a result of how you feel about what you're worth. You feel like you're now more worthy. This is now marble. This is not going to be wood. Things change at the top because at the bottom you're saying, I feel good. I feel good about myself. I feel good about my life. And Jupiter's saying, yeah, I feel good about everything. This is a grandmaster Mercury also. Our mind knows precisely, has a view. You have a vision of how your life will go, and it's most likely correct. The details will slip out, when it actually happens. It won't be the details you probably imagined, but you probably have the structure down, I'd say, too. So
Hmm.
I think this turns towards the next, the new world. Anything else to say about this one?
Yeah, the only other thing, and I just noticed it, we've got all three decans of the I think state of awareness. We've got Saturn at 5, Mercury at 14, Mars at 23.
Great.
So there's a lot of mental energy in this one, and that would be appropriate because Libra is an air sign.
Oh, totally. I mean, Libra has to change your mind, and you're right. It's a grandmaster of how I think about myself, grandmaster degree of how I think about my life, grandmaster degree of how I believe about my future or my vision for the future, the visioning of life, one's envisioning life. So
Hmm.
interesting too, as Jupiter was out of Gemini for a while now, and Uranus hasn't gotten back into Gemini yet, because that's the setup for whatever Uranus is going to do in Gemini. We're going to see skyrocket that new mindset.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. And then on Wednesday, we have a 27-hour, 15-minute void of course. So after this full moon Libra, it's like, and pause.
Hmm.
You'd be probably fine not doing, you don't have to be back at work, so to speak, till Friday. You might want to take Thursdays off. Y'all can do that. And Mercury in Pisces will trine Jupiter in Cancer. So basically, our mind sort of logs into our belief structure, and belief structure gives our mind, like, look, here's how it is. Here's a policy. Because we want to feel good, because we want to feel good. And I think Mercury's like, what? Yeah, that's right. You're supposed to think for the feelings too. I don't think mine has been thinking for feelings. This is a moment where they upload the code. And then
Mhm.
Venus will square Pluto at 5 degrees. So there's basically a conflict there between the thoughts I create in my mind and how I make thoughts a big deal. Because anytime you think about Mercury, I have Mercury at 6. And what does Mercury at 6 do? It says, yes, we are done with the chart. Thank you. Mercury at 6 says, hey, we can make this bigger. Always wants to go up. Mercury at 6. Like, we have lots of things we can do. So I always take small ideas, make them into big deals. Maybe I shouldn't. And Pluto Aquarius is saying, maybe you shouldn't, because it ruins the vibe. So to me, there's a turning point in our life where we catch our mind, being productive, but probably running the ship the wrong direction because it's not paying attention to the vibe it creates. That's how I see that last one.
Concur.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a week. Am I missing anything? And we end the week, ultimately with this new perspective and new vision where we want to go next.
Yeah.
But it starts from daily life up. So I think it's okay. You don't know where it's heading. It's okay, because we will know when we get there. Promise?
Yeah. One additional thing about that week, on April 3rd, Mercury's trining Jupiter at 15 degrees. Those two trined on March 9th. Both were in retrograde when that happened. So this is a revisit of that trine that happened on March 9th. And I'm mentioning that you might want to go back to your email, to text, journals, things like that, where you made notes, and see what was going on. And especially where you were dancing with the idea of vulnerability. If you felt like you were vulnerable, and why am I doing that? Maybe you were not vulnerable enough. But go back, just make a note, March 9th, and what all was going on there in relation to how you're going to feel on April 3rd. Just a side note there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the mind's really changing its mind.
That it is. All right. Does that finish up the week? Can I go ahead and take us into week 4?
Yeah.
Well, let me do that. All righty. So here we go. We start this week off, let me get my notes here correct. Feeding the new, look at the spelling there, hero mission. Securing global funding. This is steps 15 through 20, April 5th through the 11th. So let's talk about the new hero. You can't be a hero if you don't own it. Being a heroine, you got to own it. You've got to know it. Knowing who you are is a major kind of a thing. And there's much about what that does for this week that we're going to address. We start the week with the sun squaring Jupiter, the same one that we just talked about earlier. It has now gone to 16 degrees. And so the sun in Aries squaring that Jupiter in Cancer, basically, are you willing to act on something higher? Now, we've been calling that spirit a lot, but let's say you're not one who dances with spirit quite so much, but you believe in being kind. You have a degree of ethics or a particular kind of a mantra that rules your world, and that's your higher way of being. This is an invitation to be in that on that day. But it coming this far after that full moon, 4 days after that full moon, we're still in that, I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to open up to that anymore. I am opening up to what the greater principle is. And remember, Jupiter does rule the philosophy that runs your life. And so you would say, I'm not a Christian, I'm not Muslim, I'm not Jewish, but I have a particular ethic that rules my life. That's part of what Jupiter would be inviting you to step into. And Chiron going to 26 Aries, a commitment to your healing, a commitment that you're on the other side of an old ego wound, and you're now in just this place of committing to it. Remember, 26 is commit and devote. And when you devote to something, it makes decisions for you. I've used this example before, that when you devote to being a vegan, that right there makes a decision about where you're going to go eat and what you're having for dinner tonight. So it's asking us, Chiron going to 26, to do that. on that day where the sun is squaring Jupiter. That I'm going to go into the higher understanding of what it means to be healed, not what ego or the world around me is telling me. And then, bada bing, the next day, Uranus goes to 29 Taurus.
Mm.
So here we are now testing. Okay, I should start seeing this in my world. 29, the tested degree of is this real? Is this authentic? And not moving into it's not here, it's not here. The whole Uranus and Taurus transit is just hell in a handbasket. It's where you could blow up the entire transit, the 7-year transit, and everything that you've done. So it's stay focused, and let this be a place where you're just tweaking. And you're tweaking resources, you're tweaking manifestation, you're tweaking investment of energy and that type of thing. And Black Moon Lilith moving to 12 Sag on that same day is also kind of, yeah, but you don't believe in that, do you? Come on, that's just bullshit. You don't believe in that manifestation stuff. You don't believe in that Christopher Witecki and that step system stuff. You don't believe in that. So Black Moon Lilith could be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mars, the next day or 2 days after, is going to sextile that Uranus. Talk about two planets that love to shake things up. Mars,
slap them on the ass.
Yeah.
On the ass, like, hey.
Yeah, Mars and Uranus, you could add Pluto to that as well. And Mars has got to do it right there because the next day it's headed home. It's going home. And it moves into Aries the next day. And it's just taking care of stuff before it moves into Aries the next day. So,
or the sun is born to go meet his new son.
Yeah.
And new version of him come out. New Martian version's out. Like it's a new baby being born, new ego.
Yeah. And so all this stuff happening, you've got to own that you're your own hero. You got to know it because Uranus at 29, Black Moon Lilith at 12 could be talking to you and go, hero. What hero are you? I don't see your cape. I don't see a cape. You're not a hero. Heroes have capes and they have cool masks. You don't have those. So we're also going to be challenging this new definition we've given ourselves. And the world going like, who the hell do you think you are? Who do you think you are with that?
Mm-hmm. Which some people do. Some people are resistant. They're meant to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah. But the securing global funding, I'm going to give my look at that. And then, Christopher, I'm curious to hear what you think about that one. When you move into these places, you're asking the global resources to start coming and supporting you. The clients, the financing, the resources, the office you need, the desk you need, the new microphone you might need. Our producer, he loves to do that. I think that this is part of if you've had some backlog in that kind of stuff, I think this is something that could start to get the stuff flowing again. That's my take about the securing global funding. Now, what do you think there?
I think it'll become incredibly insecure as far as what the market sees and experiences. Uranus at 29 means it's now time to push the envelope. So you're being given permission to change the dimensions, if you are so talented enough to change the dimensions of what it will be, period. So an example of this is, we're way off the subscription model now. That's the financing where we play the subscription. Millennials don't want subscriptions. They want one-offs. That means software has to change the way it draws boundaries around paying for things. You can see this happening at the very core. But I think what this does is give permission to the architects and the wizards going, okay, have fun, boys or girls, have fun. And actually, there's girls at the table now, too, which is awesome because that's a different type of invention, as far as what technology and power and money is going to bring. Finally, the divine feminine included in that as well. I think this is a time where people have a crazy idea that seemed really difficult to think that you could pull it off when you started. But I think once you start to walk down that path, you realize, oh my God, it's blowing my mind, the creator of this particular idea, because we don't know where it leads. It's going to take us to some fascinating conclusions. So this is a hell yeah. I mean, the way to manage this is, how do you feel about it? Do you feel good? That's the 9 responding to the 2. Feel good? Keep going. Make sure you love yourself, step 1, and make sure you love yourself some more, step 11. So if you are feeling good about it, and your heart's in it, You are being led down a golden path, a yellow brick road. And if you stay in that signal, I don't see how you can fall apart. If anything, be bought out. You know, worst case. So the economy, yeah, I think that we're going to change what's valuable. I mean, look at it. Right now, people are getting AI machines and it's just plunking quarters into it, which are called tokens. So we're back to like video games. We're putting in tokens to have the machine do so much for us. And it's becoming a token-based business, which means you don't even remember how much you spent. You know, it's just like using Disney dollars at Disneyland. So, you know, you can see the blur of value now. What is value? Server speed, server access. You know, Elon Musk is fixing to actually do a world global cell phone market from the satellites. That's major. That's major. That usurps AT&T, the trunk lines under the sea, everything.
I'm going to add to that. The research I was doing for this Sun conjunct Neptune at 1 degree, I go to AstroSeek, so astro-seek.com to do some of the research. And when I put in what I was researching, it came back with a screen that said, we can't do the result right now. We have too many AI agents hitting the server.
Wow.
I've never seen that error message on anything before, let alone AstroSeek.
Oh my
That
God.
was wild. I wish I'd taken a screenshot of it. I didn't. I just came back out, did it again, and it was there. But that's wild.
I predict the next big subscription model is going to be these agents and things like, you know, we won't subscribe to a website to be able to be a member. We'll subscribe to a website so that our AI can go in there and crawl around when we want to. And you have these packages of crawling around. But it's like a cable package now with HBO and Cinemax. This will be like, oh, I have InfoSeek, I have this, I have that in my package of rentals to data, because data is being locked down. People aren't sharing, and that's good, actually. It really makes the value of the data be what it is and not what it isn't. So, yeah, fascinating. The economy of data, making money off of data. And when Uranus hits Gemini, then it just rockets, right? I mean, we're setting up the foundation for an information explosion. You know, this isn't a information revolution. This is a wisdom revolution. We're evolve and have a total revolution of what wisdom is. All right, so that wrap up that week is a busy one.
A very busy one, but it's part of the hero's mission. So get your cape ready.
Indeed, and things will go fast. I'll tell you that. I feel like there's not any sitting around and waiting like we did for the last 2 years. What's happening next? We'll see when Congress comes back. No, this is going to be fast and furious, to quote those movies. As we move into this next week, you know, Mars attacks self-judgment. So, you know, Mars ultimately is either going to attack the way you've been thinking about things or support. And I think what's going to determine it, again, is your heart and your feelings. The mind has no data here, no record. Your mind cannot calculate. It cannot be searched on the internet. It hasn't been done. This is why real creators and real manifestors can step forward. But Mars hits that conjunction Neptune in Aries at step 2. And you spoke about that, Neptune at 2. Neptune at 2 means a trunk line. That means even though Neptune's only at step 2, you have access to the entire spectrum of Neptune, all the way up to step 29. Because our feelings are a conduit to all consciousness. So once Mars hits that conjunction Neptune, it's kind of like it's getting kicked in the butt going, you feel what's going on, so why are you sitting there? I think this is, you know, in there kicking the butt. Venus and Taurus will sextile Jupiter in Cancer, but now at 16, they were at 15 prior. So now it's sort of this, what's the higher thing to do? What's the spiritual thing to do? Bringing compassion into our choices with the wisdom of Jupiter giving us new emotional EQ. I mean, Jupiter's been raising our EQ this last year is what's really happened, our emotional quotient. On Tuesday, April 14th, do you want to say something on that? I heard you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So Mercury in Pisces then on Tuesday, the 14th, sextiles Uranus and Taurus. So the mind gets on board with this big project, right? Whatever this big project is. And I imagine there'll be some fascinating projects, like people trying to go through time. I'm not kidding. I think people are going to try free energy stuff. People are going to really realize, what can I do with AI that other people could also do but don't think about? And then later that Tuesday, after it sextiles, there's this threat. It goes boom into Aries. So Mercury goes into Aries. At that point, our mind is in fighting mode. Our mind is in competition mode. Our mind is in self-competition mode. Might be a little defensive as well. And then as we move through the week, again, this is by Thursday, the sun is going to conjoin Chiron. This is a big deal because Chiron ultimately is when we have healed something or not. And I would say with Chiron at 26, we're healed enough in our ego problems to at least make the call. And so we've been afraid to make the call because with Chiron early, not having completed this high side of Aries, you're talking about everyone who has ruled on the planet in past lives and fucked up is now saying, I should try again. I think I can. And so you get the old dog, the old school coming in as old as Atlantis, like people who failed before, you know, this generation. And so you have this, and this is Gen X. Gen X is Pluto and Libra and Chiron and Aries for the most part. So the Gen X is sitting here going, okay, I've had enough of the mess. I've had enough of mom's mess or dad's mess. I'm done. Let's fix this thing once and for all. I think there's a call there. Mars and Aries then sextiles Pluto, which then our mind and our ego are like, hell yeah. That's how I see that. And that brings us to the new moon. The new moon in Aries hits step 27, which is the day I have said from the beginning is when the real Earth will begin to have the action. This is when the curtain, I think, goes up really for the story, this new moon. But Robbie, you dive into it for us.
I will. So, Mr. Producer, if you could bring that up on the screen for us. All righty. So what we got here, first off, this is at 27 degrees, an Aries ruled degree, the Grand Master Aries degree. There's that. And this is now the first new moon that breaks the pattern where we had 6 at 28 degrees. So that 28 degrees, that building and producing and making sure that we're getting stuff together. Now at 27, here we are. We are ready to engage with this. We're ready to get our hands around it. We're ready to do something. But, this is, it's the execution of something if you have gotten it started already. Because of all those 28 degree new moons. So I don't know that out there in the astrology world, they may be going, oh, new moon, this is when you start something. Doesn't mean you shouldn't start something. But if you've already had something in process, this is where you go. This is now.
Your whole life.
Yes, this is where you go. So this is a new moon where the astro strategy team called this shit intensity. Okay. And so, meaning it's a bit of a sacred mess. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things going on. Think of it like back in the old days before Amazon, we used to get to the store on Black Thursday at 5 o'clock in the morning. And when they would open those doors and we'd all go running in and, grabbing stuff, it has that kind of a feeling to it. Because look at everything that is in Aries. Neptune, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Chiron, and the Sun, the Sun Moon conjunction. These little planets out here, Venus, Uranus, Jupiter, Pluto, like, hey, look at us. Yeah, the big party is in Aries. And Aries, though, that started under a void of course moon with the moon in Aries. And so there's a lot of itching to go. And if you are prepared and if God universe has said go, and I'm saying that because of that Jupiter at 17 at 8. That if God universe has said go, God universe may tell you another week because of who you are and what's going on. And so it's understanding you're going to be in chaos. You're going to be in a lot of energy. You've got to have something to ground you as well. You got to have God universe up in here pulling you straight. You got to have your feet on the ground. You've got to be ready for this. And, look, those Black Friday deals that we used to do back in the 90s and the early 2000s and got at the store at 5 o'clock, we were dressed for it. We had the right kind of shoes. We didn't wear our 6-inch heels. We wore our sneakers. We brought big bags. We had ready credit cards. We had cash. We were ready for the deals that day. Be ready for the deals. Be ready for what all those 28 degree moons were bringing you. I mean, that's a massive amount of energy in any sign, let alone Aries, where that massive conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees happened under Pisces. So it's shit intensity. But Christopher, you and I have been waiting on this.
This is the ball. This is the grand ball.
Yeah.
I feel this is where it will be a ball. This is where the game is in play. Believe it or not, everything you've done up until now doesn't matter. And you need to remember that. Stop thinking about the past. It has nothing to do with what you're about to do. Nothing. It was simply a training ground. It was a round around the track. Don't judge anyone on anything that happened up until now because it was training. It was not anything that has to do with the way the story will be told or happen. That I know for a fact. And 27 is a performance. It is a performance. That means you are on stage. This is it. The president
Mm-hmm.
didn't call you, right? There's no warning or whatever. And suddenly you're in the game. You're in the game. And that's what I call the game. I think it's life is but a game. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a growth with a growth aim that we have this growth that we want to aim for. Now is where we get measured up. And look at the sentence there. I think that is said there, the spiritual sentence from Neptune to 27. It's like, I'm in tune with my feelings and what God says. My mind believes in myself. Mars at 5, I'm prepared to act on the right thoughts inside myself. Saturn at 7, and I will decide according to my spiritual principles at the end of the day. And
Mm-hmm.
then it says, Chiron, I'm devoted to becoming this character again that I once was, only better, that feels good and there's no resistance. And let's fucking do it. Sun conjunct Moon 27. Let's do it. Look, no, Venus at conjoining Uranus too with a 8-degree orb. There's a
Mm-hmm.
commitment, just like the 8 from the North Node down at times. We now have this 8 from the high to top to the end, and this is a commitment to what we're opening up to. I'm going to open up to this new world of AI or this new world of this, and I'm going to take it as far as I can because no
Mm-hmm.
one's watching. Partly, it's a good time. Gobble up the gold while others don't see it. That's always part of opportunity. I'll just say Black and Lilith, the fear that everything will fall apart, the revolution will
Mm-hmm.
end in chaos, that I'm going to end up, on the cross again, being crucified.
Yep.
No. Does your heart believe that? That's not true. So I think it's a powerful moment and the start of
Well,
everything.
it is. And I'll also add power to that. This octave, Mars and Pluto are octave of each other. And they're still in that trine at 5 degrees.
Mhm.
So what are we doing? Bringing in the age of Aquarius where Pluto is. How are we doing it? With Aries energy right now, where Mars is the ruler of Aries. You can't script that.
No. No, it's perfect. And that's what gives me comfort in the numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers play out. I feel like
Well, it's what proves this step system, Christopher. I've been saying it since the moment that I really started doing astrology with that system. It is what proves it. You
oh,
know.
watching the numbers, absolutely. I'll say Pluto at 5. The mind no longer is left or right. The mind is 4 choices at once. Think of a dice that you roll, for gambling. That dice has a dot in the middle and 4 around it, and that is the new Gemini. That's the 5D Gemini. The observer is in the center. The other points of the mind are considering 4 options at any time. So Geminis are getting upgraded in their thinking, which Uranus will see through to it. It's 5D thinking now. 5D
Mm-hmm.
thinking is I got 4 choices at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's that. And then I guess the only other thing, and Adam, you can go ahead and take that down. I guess the only other thing to really do when you finish us up here is we end the week with the sun going into Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an interesting thing that we saw with the sun going into Taurus. Do you remember what that was, Christopher?
No, I don't actually. I feel like I'm like, do you remember, Joe? Mars crossing Saturn in Aries at 7 is a holy war for yourself. I'll say that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a setup in that sense that that is my yourself saying, no, I know I came here for this. I know I came here for this. Something you came here for. I think you're recognizing that conjunction. As the sun goes into Taurus, then it's like the heart now gets reinvested in a whole new way. But I don't recall what your point was. Go ahead and give it away.
Well, we will call this a teaser for when we do the
Oh,
Taurus mega.
mm,
When the sun goes into Taurus, we have the nodes at 7,
mm-hmm,
Mercury at 7, Saturn
mm-hmm,
at 7, Mars at 7,
mm-hmm,
and the moon at 5 in a trine with that Pluto.
mm-hmm.
I wonder what that means.
It means you
Yeah.
are to be who you're always meant to be, and only your soul knows it.
To
Oh, yeah.
have
Yeah.
to have those 3 planets, Mercury, Saturn, Mars,
Mhm.
at 7.
The
You know,
disruptors.
3. Well,
They're
and
the
3
disruptors.
sevens in Vegas is the jackpot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested in what the jackpot will be. I
Hmm.
think it's private, though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 It is very much so.
I go, I think I'm the na. Really? Like, there's a moment where you kind of get this, it all comes together. Why you've lived your life, why you've been, things have happened to you to this point, why has it been so hard and all this stuff. You'll know why right then.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a beginning of Taurus. It's like, it turns out it's not anything. In my experience, it's not anything what I thought it was. And I do this for a living. And most of what I learned was, it's not that something bad will happen to you. It's that you think something bad will happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? I could have stopped at any time. Yes, you could have clicked your heels and gone away back to I was like, oh my God. But at that point, it's like, well, then shake it off. What does that mean? And that's what that last note is like. And what does that mean? And
Yeah.
okay, wow. Well, fun time to be alive, I'll say.
Woohoo. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, gosh, I'm looking forward to seeing what the changes are, Robbie. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And
Yeah.
talking deep stuff with you, man. This turned out to be a longer show, but you know what? We needed it. I think we do what we have to do.
Well, we're good. We try to run this 60 to 90 minutes. So, I think we're good. And look, I think that this is going to be a mega that people will tune back into. Maybe we put some time codes down there in the bottom and people tune back in per week to get now that I'm in the middle of it, let me go back and revisit what they were talking about. I think it will help people.
Good idea. You're right. I'm going to follow through with that. Make sure it happens. Good suggestion. Not contrary at all. Complimentary.
No, I'm agreeable every once in a while.
Yeah, always. When you don't agree, it's where the Taurus needs to get shoved. Like, well, we have to understand we have natures about us, but it doesn't mean that's the way it always is.
Mm-hmm. Adam saved that clip for me so that the next time I say something to Christopher and he pushes back, I could just play it.
We set up that way, right, Adam? There we go. There's my brothers. Well, thank you. It's been a great moment here to be with you. I think you're going to find that everyone changes expression coming up this next month. I'm excited to see everyone. And until next month, Robin, we get to talk pilots. We all love you. We love thee.
Thank you. Love and blessings to you all.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Serious Joy TV. Please click like on this video, and if you don't mind, hit the bell button so you're notified, so we collectively defeat the algorithm overlords. The Serious Joy Nonlinear TV Network is simulcasting right now on many media affiliates, including Instagram,